Hello everybody, this is the sixth video of Unit 1. I am at Roman numeral 4, Spain in America. Okay, Roman numeral 4, Spain in America. Okay, as I was talking about in the previous videos, Christopher Columbus came to the Spanish King and Queen, Ferdinand and Isabella, seeking sponsorship for a voyage west into the Atlantic Ocean, seeking East Asia. Okay, all right. So Columbus kind of unwittingly comes to America. He's the first European to come to America. But to say that he discovered America, of course, is a little bit of a fallacy unless you don't think Indians are people, because they were here first. How can you discover something that millions of people already know about, right? Okay, so let's talk about after Columbus, Roman numeral 4, letter A. After Columbus came to the Americas and returned, he returned to the Americas two more times, actually three more times. He made 4 voyages to the Americas through the end of his life. But after that, the Spanish invested in a huge exploration and conquest of the Americas. Okay, spending lots and lots of royal money and a lot of energy, using a lot of Spanish personnel. But it was very successful because the Spanish built a tremendous empire in the Americas. Okay, so after Columbus, we see that the Spanish expand on what Columbus had accomplished, and by developing this huge territory of control under Spanish control. All right, letter B, conquistadors. These are the soldiers of the conquest of Americas. Previously, conquistadors were the soldiers of the Reconquista, those who had attempted to regain control of Spain from the Muslim conquerors, and successfully did so. So those conquistadors are the explorers who came to the Americas after Columbus, the Spanish explorers who are claiming territory for Spain. Okay. Letter C, God, glory, and gold. God, glory, and gold was the model, the motto of the American conquest. They said that's why they were there, first and foremost for God, and then for glory and gold. So these conquistadors, they have 3 purposes. One is to expand Catholic Christianity throughout the world as much as possible. Also, these conquistadors were very much interested in their own wealth and their own glory and success. Okay. Letter D, the Spanish century. Now we're talking about Christopher Columbus came first in 1492, right? And so for about the next 100 or so years, throughout the 1500s, there was no other European presence in the Americas. Okay. And so the Spanish spent about 100 years without any kind of European competition. They were able to claim and conquer whatever they could as their own, with the only force to be reckoned with being the Indians. Now, the Indians had problems of their own in facing the Spanish. I'm going to talk about those in just a minute. Okay, but the Spanish century is the 1500s. The reason why it's called the Spanish century is because during the 1500s, the Spanish had very little European competition, essentially no European competition in the Americas. Okay. Letter E, Spanish America. Spanish America, once again looking at the map on page 408, you can see in the Americas all that area that is orange. Okay. The lower half of North America, which would include all of the country of Mexico, modern Mexico, as well as much of the United States. Looking at that map, you can see that Spanish territory extended into California. It included Florida. It included coastal Mississippi. It included Louisiana, on up into Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. So the Spanish claimed a whole lot of land in what is now the United States. Okay, so we could say that the Spanish claimed, and also don't forget those islands. You see Cuba, Hispaniola, the Indies, the West Indies as it says. These were also Spanish possessions during the 1500s. So the Spanish claimed a whole lot of the Americas, all of the Americas that was known to Europeans during the 1500s. Okay. Letter F, virgin soil epidemics. Now, as I stated a few minutes ago, that the American Indians were the only groups of folks to face off against the Spanish during the 1500s. They were the only ones to oppose Spanish conquest. Okay, now there are way more American Indians than there were Spanish conquistadors. Okay, by far the American Indians outnumbered them. Now, of course, we're talking about hundreds of different societies of American Indians. We're not talking about people who are united in a force to oppose the conquering enemy. Nonetheless, let's look at some of these examples. Like the first people that the Spanish came in contact with, the first people that Columbus himself came in contact with, were a group called the Taino Indians. Okay, they lived in what is now the modern Bahamas, and the Spanish easily conquered all of them. Okay, the Spanish easily conquered several American Indian societies, dozens and dozens of major American Indian societies the Spanish were able to defeat and conquer. How is this possible? Well, the Spanish did have guns. They did have firepower that the American Indians did not have. We're still talking about huge numbers, though. We're still talking about many, many, many thousands of American Indians in each particular society versus probably a few hundred Spanish conquistadors. What made the Spanish conquest of the Americas possible was this idea of virgin soil epidemics. Okay, virgin soil means a new place, some place that has never been touched by something, whatever. In this case, it's epidemics. What the Spanish did, without even knowing they were really doing it, was they introduced lots of deadly diseases to the American Indians that they had never experienced before. For example, smallpox, bubonic plague, and several other diseases like yellow fever were brought to the Americas by the Spanish. They didn't really know they were bringing them. They were carriers of these diseases. Over the centuries, Europeans had developed immunities to these diseases, and so they were not ill affected by them. Well, these diseases are brought to the American Indians by these carriers of the Spanish, and the diseases were able to run rampant with these societies because they had never been there before. That's the virgin soil part of it. So virgin soil epidemics made the Spanish conquest of the Americas possible. Very unlikely that they would have been able to do it without the help of these diseases. Okay, because even though they did have firepower, it would have taken a lot of firepower to defeat the huge societies that we're referring to. Okay, letter G, death toll. So the question may be raised is how many American Indians died at the hands of the Spanish during the Spanish century, the 1500s. That's a very hard number to put your finger on, you know. It's something that is very difficult to positively identify how many people died. In some cases, the entire society died. For example, those Taino Indians, as I mentioned, the first Indian group that the Spanish came into contact with, they're totally extinct. There are no Tainos left in the world today. And that is also true of lots of other societies. For example, the Natchez Indians who lived around Natchez, Mississippi today. They're all gone. Now, there were some remnants who lasted later, and the Spanish did not wipe them all out, but the Spanish did have a huge negative effect on the population of Natchez Indians. So, as best we can say, the most popular estimate of the number of American Indians killed by the Spanish as a result of diseases as well as warfare, okay, because the Spanish did kill people in warfare, but diseases were the biggest part of it. We estimate about 90% of the American Indian population was killed by the contact of the Spanish. Now, those are the American Indian populations that the Spanish came into contact. Of course, they didn't come into contact with all of them. The Spanish never went into far North America, okay? But the vast majority, 90% or so, of American Indians that were met by the Spanish were killed, okay? All right, I will pick up there with the next video.